So, we are going to continue on with a little bit of the stand-up comedy. Coming to our stage, we're right here on our stage. We bring you the comedy stylings of Miss Kelly D. Ray.
All right, how's everybody out there doing tonight, huh? This morning? I feel like I haven't been to bed yet because I only had, a couple hours of sleep. Normally I get 9. And just so you know, this is my first time doing stand-up, so I do have notes like a cheater on a test. But I'll leave those there. Like I said, this is my first time doing stand-up, so, I like to think I'm funny. I tell stories, people laugh. I love to laugh. I hope other people laugh. So here I am telling my stories. And the first thing I did was think, God, who can I ask? Who's around me? Who has the most time with me that I could ask who I'm funny? And I thought, well, I live with my teenage daughter, and it turns out she doesn't think I'm funny. She's 15 going on 35, and I still asked her, well, tell me when I was funny. Tell me some story where you thought I was funny. She looked me dead in the face and said, work isn't funny, Mom. And I thought, well, that's really odd because my coworkers all told me you have to tell work stories. So I was confused, and I thought, well, she's 15. She's a teenager. Teenagers, just by the nature of being a teenager, know everything. Or at least every teenager I've ever met, and I know I knew everything when I was 15, so she must be right. Then I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, I don't know, maybe my job's not as cool as I think it is. My parents didn't have cool jobs. My mom worked in an office, and my dad was an ex-Marine postal worker. Now, if you know anything about Vietnam vets and postal workers, you combine those two, and that's a special kind of crazy you got right there. He was the one, he didn't clean a gun or anything when I had boys come over. He would be sharpening his machete. That he would tell people, I was in the jungle. This is the machete from the jungle. And I would roll my eyes and go, oh God, I'm going to end up with someone crazy because they're willing to stay with me. And it's true, I did. I ended up with someone crazy, and now we're divorced, and I have a wonderful teenage daughter who doesn't think I'm funny. So, my job. I'm not a crazy Vietnam vet postal worker like my dad. I sort of work in an office. I work for a police department. I'm not a police officer. I don't have one of those cool blue outfits or the shiny badge, but I'm a civilian, and I actually am a forensic scientist for the police department. And for 11 years I've been investigating crime scenes and working in the crime lab. And I must be out of touch with what's cool, because when my daughter says, work's not cool, Mom, I think, God, I would have loved to tell people my mom's a CSI. Of course, it's not as cool as on TV. I love to watch CSI on TV, mainly because I make fun of it, and it gives me material. But, it's not that cool. I don't get to be the one running in on the first one on the scene. I don't get a badge and a gun like the lab techs do on CSI. What's up with that, right? I don't get to go in and slam my fist on the table and demand truth of a homicide suspect. Now, I have been in the interview room, and it's never for anything really cool like you see on TV. I went in one time, and it was because this gentleman had, bitten the person they thought that he had killed. So I had to go in and take photographs of his teeth. Close-ups of his teeth. Now, I didn't have a lens quite small enough to be standing across the room from the gentleman, so I had to get it all up in his face. And he had been being interrogated for a number of hours, and they did not offer him a toothbrush or any mints. So the next time they called me in and said, we need you to take photos, I thought, oh, please, let it be of hands or, feet or his shoes or his clothes even. That would be fine. But no, it was a sex-related homicide. And they needed photos of his genitals. And once again, I didn't have a lens quite small enough to get close enough to that material, so I was really up in his business. Yeah, I'm traumatized. Oh yes, work stories are fun. I mean, I think it's funny, it's cool, you know. I mean, my boss used to call me and try to find the funniest things he could say to call me to a homicide scene. He used to say things like, "Can you come out and play? By the way, she doesn't have a head." "Hey, you want to come work a crime scene? We need help finding testicles." Side note on that one, there were 6 men on the crime scene and myself, and I found them. They were in little, specimen jars in a drawer, but I was the one to find them. I asked what prize I won, and they told me I could keep them. That was until the gentleman whose they were came to pick them up from the evidence room. Now, I'm not sure if there's a body modification line of jewelry going on, and his wife was going to make earrings. I don't know. But he did. He came to retrieve them. It was kind of creepy. I couldn't look him in the eye. At least I knew I wasn't going to go have to take photographs of him later in the interview room. Yes, working for the police department is fantastic, and you get to go to court. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have been to court, but it's part of my job. But when I meet new people and I say I had to go to court, it's a really good test to find out what their life is like. Some people say, "Ooh, what did you do?" And I realize, oh, they've been to court before. Some say, "Oh, for your job?" Not everybody knows what I do right away for a living, and just this past week I was in the dressing room for a performance I was doing, and our whole cast was there. There was about a dozen people, and I was talking about my week, and I said, "Well, I've spent about 6 hours this week standing between 2 dead bodies. Hey, it was okay. It was a good week." And everybody just kept talking like nothing was wrong, and I thought, wow, okay, good, we've moved on, until I heard the poor makeup lady who was new. She said, "Who is that? What is she talking about?" And all I did was laugh. It didn't help. Us crime scene people, anytime you really have to deal with the morbid stuff we see on a daily basis, you get what we call gallows humor. We have really dark humor. We're always respectful to those who have deceased, but things like the phone call from my boss, help us find our testicles, and things like that. But also, we take material from everyday life. If any of you guys watch The Family Guy, have seen the episode where Peter tries to meet Colonel Sanders. The poor cashier keeps telling him, "I say you he did. I don't know what's wrong with you. I say you he did." Well, we adopted this in our phone call process. "Can you come to a crime scene?" "Sure, what happened?" "I say you he did." To which I always ask, "Does he have a head? How about testicles?" What am I looking for? Yeah, so, then you learn things about people on a crime scene: who needs to smoke, who needs to use the restroom every 5 minutes, who can handle being out in negative 19-degree weather, and who hates the plowman. Now, we had a crime scene in negative 19-degree weather, and it was a blood trail, which was ended by the plow. That was the crime scene where I lost my credentials and begged my supervisor not to make me go look for them. I blamed it on the plowman. He ruined everything that day, that plowman. Let me just check my notes. Gallows humor. Yep, some of those jokes we tell I can't even repeat in public. I'd get arrested. And then somebody might try to come take photos of me. So, now back to that body modification guy. I don't have anything against body modification per se. I have tattoos of my own. I actually have 6 tattoos. Of course, because I do what I do and have to go to court, I have to be able to cover them up. It's funny until your 2-year-old daughter looks at the blue diamond over your heart and says, "A clue, a clue." At first, I had no idea what she was talking about until I watched Blue's Clues and realized she thought I was trying to send her a message. Yeah, body mod is fun. I don't think I'll ever be getting horns or a split tongue or anything, but I do like art. Art is fun. In fact, I'm a martial artist. I didn't know what to look at me, but I could find a number of ways to hurt someone. I don't think I'll be using a kendo stick anytime soon after today, but martial artist. I actually have a black rank in 2 arts. One is Tai Chi. You wouldn't think that would be very intimidating or, scary, because it's so slow. Until somebody tried to punch me, and a half a second later, they were on the floor with my foot across their throat. And I said, "Make me search for testicles one more time, boss." And I better get a prize when I find them. No, I'm actually a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. That's been fun. I have a little bit of vertigo, and this set of material has multiple spins in it. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but man, I can get a good buzz going during Taekwondo class. All I have to do is stand up too fast some days. It's fantastic. Yeah, buzz is fun. That or, stay up for 50 hours in a row laughing. That'll give you a buzz too. Speaking of getting a buzz and laughing, back to that court stuff I was talking about earlier. Court is amazingly good for laughter. Don't laugh in the court, the judge doesn't like that. But I have been in court a number of times to find a fair amount of funny material. I was in a almost 40-year-old homicide case, a cold case we call those. And I was sitting in on closing arguments where they kind of plead their case for the last time. And the defense attorney got up and said, "Does my client's DNA not degrade at the same rate as the rest of the population?" I just about jumped out of my chair and said, "Has nobody else seen My Cousin Vinny? This guy just pulled up My Cousin Vinny." And it worked. His client was acquitted of the homicide. And I thought, wow, my mom lied to me. Life is like on TV. It's fantastic. I just wanted to call her and go, "Mom." But she was at her boring job. That wasn't cool. And then I wanted to talk to my daughter. See, Mom's got a cool job. But court has other things too. I mean, you get to really talk about what you do, and if you love it, it's fantastic. If you don't, it's a long day. I've actually been able to fly around the country and travel and, get some travel time in. I love to travel to testify in different courts. I was in California on a drug trial, and the defense attorney was just mean. Mean. Every witness came off the witness stand crying on defense. And I thought, that's it, I can't take it. Now, as scientists, we're supposed to be non-biased and, talk to both sides and just present the evidence, but I was mad. I was mad at this guy. So, when I left the stand, he was crying. He was asking me questions and I was answering them, but he didn't know what to think. He asked me, where did I lift fingerprints from a plastic bag? And I said, we didn't lift them. Because you can't lift fingerprints off a plastic bag. The tape in the bag fight. So I asked him to please turn the bag around and show the jury where I had marked the bag with a Sharpie. I used the word Sharpie over and over again. I like to think people are intelligent enough to know what a Sharpie is. But this guy, he stopped and he said, could you define Sharpie? for the jury? I turned to the jury, and they had the same look on their face that I did. What the hell? So I said, a black magic marker, brand name Sharpie. And they all nodded. And then by the end, this defense attorney was in tears, and he said, "You've done this before, haven't you? You're a good witness. I have no questions." And I walked out of there like I owned the room. I wish I had a mic. I could have dropped it. That was a fun case, too, because I was traveling with federal agents, DEA, FBI, the whole alphabet soup, and they had the evidence with them, a backpack full of ecstasy pills. And they said, "Please don't let us leave this anywhere." And I think they were screwing with me because they kept leaving it everywhere. I'm the one with no badge, no gun, and I'm going, "Hey guys, look, don't forget the evidence." And I'm carrying around in the airport, mind you, a backpack full of illegal drugs. Thinking, okay, I hope I don't get busted. I hope they don't alert anybody that they forgot it somewhere because I've got it. Yeah, airports can be fun. I went for training in Washington at Quantico, FBI headquarters, and we were out on the bomb range the day before we left. And then in security, I got pulled aside. I don't know if you guys have ever been pulled aside at security, but they do those little swipey things and they put it in the machine and they're looking for bomb residue. Well, I had been on the bomb range. I stood there like, saying those silent prayers like, "Oh, please God, help me. Please God, don't let them find anything. Please don't let them swipe my phone," because all I did was text all day. I didn't even really pay attention in class. I don't even know what they're gonna find. Please, God. Oh, I'm good? Okay, thank you. Airports are fun, yeah. One time I got pulled aside because I had changed my flight plans because it had snowed and iced in DC, and they don't know what to do in DC in the snow and the ice. They just shut everything down. But the flight had been canceled, so I had to rearrange my plans. Well, they pull you aside whenever you change your plans, and I thought, well, they're gonna pull everybody aside today because they didn't fly yesterday. So they put me in this little tiny pen, they rope off an area. So one person can stand there, and then they put 10 people in it. And the second guy who got put in the little pen, I looked at him and I said, "So, what are you in for?" He didn't think it was funny at all. He gave me a look like, "Don't talk to me." So I kept talking. And I said, "Well, what flight are you on?" Because I'm thinking, if he's this upset by security, I don't want to be on his flight. Dear God. Of course, me and my mouth get myself in trouble at the airport. One time, the guy in front of me was getting pat down at security, and this was before the general pat downs were happening. And working where I work, I knew what a good pat down looked like. And they didn't touch the small of his back. Before I knew what was happening, I was saying, "What kind of pat down was that?" The guy getting pat down gave me that same look. It was a different guy, but same look. Like, "Shut the hell up." I said, "You didn't even get the small of his back. That's where people hide stuff." So they patted him down, and then I got a pat down too on the deal. Whatever, you take it where you can get it, right? See, I keep veering away from my stories. I have so many stories. I had one in court. This is another test of your friendship. I'm going to court. Oh, the gentleman is his own attorney. That was a fun time. Now, there's this whole thing about if a person is his own attorney, he has a horrible attorney. That was true. This was a gentleman who was kind of like a jailhouse attorney, and they're the most annoying ones. He thought he was some sort of Johnny Cochran or, Kardashian or something. But I was there testifying on video-related evidence, and we had to watch the video frame by frame by frame. And he asked me the oddest questions, like, what direction is the camera pointing? And I'm geographically challenged, and I had no idea. what direction the camera was pointing. And I said, wait, no, hold on, I got this. I can figure it out. And the judge laughed, and I thought, oh, see, tell my daughter I'm funny. But I figured it out, because I know where the river is, and then I get oriented, and we kept watching the video frame by frame, and he kept asking me questions. And then every time I agreed with something he said, you know, are we facing south? Yes, we're facing south. He would shout, established. And I thought, okay, good, we've established we're facing south. I'm not sure how that helps this case any, but hey, we've established something. That's kind of what court's for. But every time, established. And then it got more and more dramatic. I thought I was in church for a second. I almost stood up and shouted, amen. Amen, hallelujah, established. Yeah, he got convicted. Because when you rob somebody in front of a camera, it's evidence. Yeah. We have some really stupid criminals where I work. I had one gentleman I had to testify on 3 times in 1 week, 3 different trials for 3 different crimes. Well, it was the same crime. But he was on video and audio selling an illegal substance to an undercover cop, and he wouldn't take a plea deal. Now, I know everybody has the right to a trial, but come on, what were you thinking? Maybe he was thinking, you know, if you can't get off jury duty, you're not that bright. He was hoping, I think, well, I thought maybe his attorney wasn't all that bright. Because we went into court, and she asked at least me some questions, and we did 1 trial, and he got convicted. So then we went to the 2nd trial, and she asked me the exact same questions. And he got convicted on the 2nd crime. And the 3rd trial, I thought, oh, she's gonna switch it up. This isn't working. She's gonna have a new technique. And she asked me the exact same questions. And I thought, wow, I wonder what's gonna be the outcome of this trial. Different jury, you never know. But he got convicted. Shocking. Established. He was guilty. Yeah, things happen and you can't really make them up. I was just in a production. And like I said, you know, the poor makeup girl was freaked out. She wouldn't talk to me the whole rest of the production. But we had a director who was new, and I like new directors because they're fun and they, you know, sometimes have really strange ideas. But we opened the program the very first night. The very first thing you see is a mostly blank page. And it said, insert director's note here. And I closed it and I set it down. I said, are you guys punking me? What's going on here? Seriously, we left it. And the assistant director said, I sent him the file and he brought it to the printers. So I keep reading, thinking it's gonna get better from here. And I look at the list, and my daughter, who thinks I'm not funny, was also in the cast. She has a different last name than me because I just recently got remarried. And it said, Alex DeHout, which is not her name. That's my last name. And I said, ha ha, who's funny now? And then this assistant director said, well, I got it right, you know, on her bio. So I flipped to her bio thinking, oh, this is going to be fantastic. I wrote her bio. So obviously she thinks I could write, I just can't tell jokes. And it was full of typos. The first thing it said was, lowercase I, Alex, all one word. And I said, ooh, you're an Apple product now. Congratulations, that's a promotion. Apple is a big company, I didn't, you know. And then there were extra words, and I mean, it was, you know, like somebody who spoke a different language wrote it. And I was just like, did I write this? Did I sleep before I wrote it? I don't understand, because that's not me. And I definitely didn't type I, Alex. Although, as her mother, I wouldn't mind if she got on board with Apple. Now, you might not know it to look at me, but for a year I've been working with a personal trainer. And, sometimes it's great. Sometimes I absolutely hate her. She's fantastic, although if she stood next to me, she'd look like a little boy. She's a lot shorter than me, a lot thinner than me, and she has far fewer curves. We get along because we do have some things in common. We both absolutely love sugar. Now, she's able to give sugar up for 40 days every year at Lent. I try to give up sugar, and I'm a homicidal maniac most of the time. And she's happy. She's making us do more work in Taekwondo class. And I'm thinking, you're lucky I had a candy bar this morning. I'd kill you. But we do get along. We do get along, and we have our things in common, Her and I both have trouble finding clothes that fit. Of course, she can't find an extra small, and I can't find a 2 or 3X that fits just the way I want. She has trouble when she goes out to eat, and I understand that. For a long time, I had to ask for a table instead of a booth, worried I wasn't going to fit comfortably. Her feet can't touch the ground. Her feet go numb a little bit, but hey, she can't help that. She can't help how short she is. Of course, when we are in Taekwondo class and I kick her in the head, it's kind of a benefit. No, she's fantastic. The fact that she's my trainer and my Taekwondo instructor is good, because when I get pissed off and go to class, I actually get to punch her. And I pay for it. I mean, literally, I pay for it. I pay money, and then I beat the crap out of her. And she does it with a smile. Like, thanks for the money! Yeah, then I have to test, and she's the judge. And sometimes she doesn't think I'm fun either. When I smack her upside the head, or kick her in the head, or, do anything to the head. I actually gave this woman a concussion. I'm not proud of it. Okay, yeah, I'm proud of it. But they do this thing where when you're going to be a first-degree black belt, you have a commitment workout. The first 2 years of training and all the colored belts aren't quite enough of a commitment, so they send you in at 6 a.m. for a 90-minute workout with this woman who can give up sugar and not care. And she's screaming at you, and she did this thing to me where I wasn't loud enough, so she turned the radio up and said, "You have to be louder than the radio." I said, okay, and I can scream. I was raised by a Marine. I know how to scream pretty well. Of course, she doesn't appreciate the cuss words I screamed at her, but so there was a portion of this test where I had to throw her on the ground. And she kept telling me, no, faster and harder. That's the only time I've ever heard that in that context. But so finally, I just was mad. So I threw her on, I was mean to her. Make me do those, burpees one more time, lady. And she had a bun in her hair, and she fell back and hit bun first. Now, had she not had the bun in, she would have been in a lot worse shape, but she ended up getting a concussion. Now we work together one-on-one a lot less frequently, and she puts me as a partner with her husband. And he made the mistake of coming to class one day, and not in his uniform, in his street clothes. And I've never seen him in street clothes again. I'm all good, and I have control when somebody's in a Taekwondo uniform. It's a controlled environment, but you come at me with a stick in your street clothes, and I'm gonna floor you. Now, this is the same male instructor who is a cage fighter. He trains cage fighting and boxing. And he was, training for this cage fight, and he went and borrowed my son. Now, my son's 23, and he's 6'6", about 375 pounds. He can take care of himself. He's also a black belt in Taekwondo. And I was sitting there watching, like every mother, I'm sitting, and the first punch that got thrown towards my son's face, I actually jumped out of the chair and said, "Hey!" And then I went, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The instructor turned around and said, "He can pick me up like I'm a 2-year-old. He'll be okay." And I said, "Yes, and you know why he'll be okay? Because he thinks I'm funny." All right, thank you guys.